Do you want to,
Yes, go ahead.
do you have any other nice introductory things?
Um, yes, so we're about to get started. Like I said before, um, my name is Eric Farmer. I am the room host. I work for the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation. I've been with the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation since 2009. And I want to say welcome to our session. We have Robert Biggers, Jason Seay, and Brett
Gibson.
Gibson, yes. I was testing Brett then. And I'll let them introduce themselves in a minute. Just some housekeeping. If you do have questions, definitely pose them in the chat section. I'll be monitoring it to answer the questions for you, and also bring some of the questions up to the panelists. Good morning, Cindy, or Sydney. Also, at the end, we will give you the code word, the word for your credit as well. Just to also let you know that this presentation is recorded. It's been recorded right now. And once it's done, at the end of the day, it will be under the recording tab for the conference. All right. So in saying that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason Seay, and he can take it off.
Hey, Eric, thank you so much for the introduction. Looking at the chat just for a second, Mike says bell ringer. I don't know if that's a reference. Mike may be a Tennessee Jumpstart Coalition annual conference attendee where, Eric, as you know, as the session begins and ends, we ring the bell to make presenters aware. Guys, happy Friday. Again, good morning. My name is Jason Seay. I am the Senior Director of Outreach for the Tennessee Higher Education Commission and the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation. As the four of us were talking earlier, my plan was just to introduce this way. Today, I've got my security detail, as with Eric, who's an outreach specialist, Brett Gibson, who's the Deputy Chief Aid and Compliance Officer for TSAC, and Robert Biggers, who is the Senior Director of Lottery Scholarship Programs. Seriously, as we roll out this new program, they're here for any questions that you guys pose via chat that Eric will give to us. They're here to help answer those questions throughout this presentation. And as always, if there's a question that we may not have the immediate answer to, we will surely get that to you as soon as we can. So I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. Give me a second. And several of you on this presentation, you have actually heard me give parts of this presentation already. So this is introducing the GIVE dual enrollment program. And after having numerous conversations with my friends and colleagues with the Pathways team, many of which are on this presentation, as well as a myriad of individuals representing the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology, some of our community colleges, and also our high schools out there, one takeaway that I received was, Jason, as you and your team present this information, just remind us that this is the dual enrollment grant, right? But specifically, this is to promote some of our CTE courses. So GIVE DEG stands for the Governor's Investment in Vocational Education, dual enrollment grant. So again, this is the dual enrollment grant. So for those of you in the high school setting, that have dealt with dual enrollment in the past, where your 11th and 12th graders have been able to take college courses through that local TCAT or through that community college, this is dual enrollment, all right, first and foremost. The caveat here is these are going to be 4 grants specifically for high need courses leading to a certificate or a diploma. These 4 grants the award will cover the costs of maintenance fees as determined by that local TCAT and community college. So bottom line, this is going to allow our 11th and 12th grade students who pursue some of these high need courses to be able to take these courses free, okay? Bottom line. So an award example, and folks, this is simply an award example because as I said, the TCAT, the local TCAT, the local community college, for these specific high need courses, they will determine, you know, what the actual maintenance fees are, right? So in this example, I have $450, right? If that is the cost, the maintenance fees associated with that particular course being taken during a semester, then that is what the grant will be to offset those maintenance fees associated with that high need dual enrollment course. So in this example, you have a student that satisfies the dual enrollment criteria set forth by, let's say, the local TCAT. This student could receive a GIVE dual enrollment grant this fall, another one in the spring, another one next fall, another one next spring, as long as certain renewal criteria is satisfied as well. But this just gives you an award example of what we could be talking about from a money perspective here. In terms of eligibility criteria, this is kind of dual enrollment 101, at least from a grant perspective. So students to be eligible must be a resident of Tennessee for 1 year prior to the application deadline. Dual enrollment, the grant is for specifically high school juniors and seniors, right? So 11th, 12th graders. As you heard me say, you know, to be eligible for a grant, the student simply must satisfy the admissions criteria set forth by that local TCAT and community college. Folks, again, that's set forth by those entities, right? So, you know, as long as, and for me, it's been 14 years. For Robert, I believe it's been 17 years since we've been administering the dual enrollment program. You know, we've always, when we ask that question, you know, what are the requirements for the dual enrollment grant? Again, first and foremost, for that single grant, that student must satisfy the admissions criteria for dual enrollment set forth by the TCAT or community college. So for those of you, what I would encourage, right, you work with your local TCAT dual enrollment person or community college person, by all means, you know, I would defer to them in terms of what the specific admission criteria would be for dual enrollment. And then to maintain eligibility to continue receiving the grant, a student must maintain a 2.75 dual enrollment GPA. In terms of the application and the deadline, this is actually probably the most frequently asked question we've received thus far is there a separate application for specifically this GIVE dual enrollment grant? And the answer is no. The application is one and the same as the dual enrollment grant application, which is available via the TSAC student portal. www.tn.gov/TSAC student portal is where a student can go create an account and complete specifically the 2021 dual enrollment grant /GIVE dual enrollment grant application. So again, it's a single application. And two, with that bullet that says single application applies for grants in all terms, this is a reminder several years ago where when we required that an application had to be submitted for each semester, we obviously shipped it to a single application. So looking at the deadlines at the bottom of this screen, right, depending on where the student or what college the student may be dual enrolling, whether using the traditional dual enrollment grant or the GIVE dual enrollment grant, they have varying deadlines. Bottom line, if they go today and complete the 2021 dual enrollment grant application, that will satisfy the application for all terms during the 2021 academic year. As we were practicing this presentation, you notice I circled that September 15th. And for years, when working with school counselors, when working with teachers within a high school that may be the point person for dual enrollment grant applications. You know, one thing I've always tried to teach those administrators is, hey, if you've got a junior or senior who you know is going to be dual enrolling or who may be considering dual enrolling, the best you can have that student just go ahead and complete the application. Do it now. And that way you don't necessarily have to worry about all these deadlines. However, I did want to present them to you for, again, if you have a student that's, let's say, going to access one of these Give Dual Enrollment grants for a high need course at a community college, that fall term deadline, September 15th. However, if they're doing so at a TCAT, that deadline is November 1. But like I said, if we can just go ahead and get all of them to do the application now prior to September 15th, then all these deadlines are satisfied through that one single 2021 dual enrollment grant application. Here's a screenshot of the actual TSAC student portal. Once a student logs in, they will click apply. As you see in kind of the top left-hand corner there, they will then scroll down the page, and what I have highlighted in red there, there you see the dual enrollment grant give application that they will need to click and then complete in order to apply for, again, either a dual enrollment grant or a Give dual enrollment grant. I'm going to pause here just for a second to say this, all right? The student doesn't necessarily need to be concerned, quote, which grant are we applying for? Because again, it's one single application, right? It's more so from the financial aid, the back end piece, that it's going to be up to the college to certify, you know, which specific grant that the student is using on the back end in this sense. Because again, one application for Give dual enrollment grant and the dual enrollment grant, as you see outlined on the screen. So some other detail to share about the program, and I somewhat alluded to this in what I just said. We may have some students who, as an 11th grade student, actually used a traditional dual enrollment grant at either a community college or a TCAT. And now, as you present, hey, you have this opportunity to take a high need course through a local TCAT or a community college. You could be eligible now for a Give dual enrollment grant. Just understand that these Give dual enrollment grants will count toward the total number of overall dual enrollment grants a student can receive over the course of the 11th and 12th grade years. These Give dual enrollment grants will also supersede, right, the course, the award amounts that we know from the traditional sense, right? So as we go into this next example, I think on the screen that follows, where traditionally if a student is taking their and using their third overall dual enrollment grant, however, in this case, it is going to be a Give dual enrollment grant, again, that award will cover the maintenance fees associated with that program, right? It will supersede the traditional third dual enrollment grant award that some of you may be thinking about right now. And then lastly, if we do have a student that happens to, in concert, use both traditional dual enrollment grant for certain gen ed courses like English or history or psychology, and then use some of the Give dual enrollment courses for some CTE coursework, just understand if the student is using a 5th through 10th overall grant, those are subject to a one-time Hope Scholarship reduction. So just FY in those scenarios. And here's kind of that example that I just gave, which is the student, say last year did traditional dual enrollment grant, maybe taking English 1, History 1 at a local community college. And so they used grants 1 and 2, which were $500 a piece under that traditional dual enrollment grant model. However, now with this introduction of the Give dual enrollment grant, this student is wishing to take some high need programs, maybe a HVAC course, or maybe a a local mechatronics course through the local TCAT that's offered through your local high school, and also the TCAT in conjunction. Just understand that, this potentially this fall, student could use give DEG in this sense, and also 2 more in the spring if they are HOPE eligible in this case. And just notice that grants 5 and 6, because that would be their 5th and 6th grants overall, would be subject to that one-time HOPE scholarship reduction. We're going to learn a lot through you and through your work in assisting these students. As Brett, Robert, and Eric and I were talking beforehand, we think the goal of this purpose is to, highlight dual enrollment, from a CTE perspective, even though many of you, as you're hearing this, it's been around, but we're wanting to highlight it, right? And now allow students to take up to 4 such courses free through this Give Dual Enrollment Grant. And again, showing this example here, in some instances, some of you may say this is the exception, not the rule, but just understand, we understand that there may be some students that go back and forth between taking traditional dual enrollment, gen ed type coursework, and then the Give Dual Enrollment from a CTE perspective. I believe last slide, this is kind of a heads up for especially our teachers out there, that your school counselor through our online system has a dual enrollment grant / Give Dual Enrollment Grant report that he or she can pull through the system, or can ask one of the outreach specialists to pull, so that y'all can keep track on which students have applied for these grants versus which students have not. And I think it is important, to monitor this report, especially as we approach specific deadlines like the September 15th deadline or the November 1 deadline from a grant perspective, that again, this report's available and can be pulled by your school counselor. If for some reason he or she is unable to pull that report, then the school counselor can reach out to their local outreach specialist, and he or she can pull that report for your school, so that you can track down any students that potentially still need to complete the grant application to receive the necessary funding. That said, I'm actually going to escape out of this slide. Eric, you've been monitoring chat. Do we have any questions right now?
Yeah, we did, but Brett answered it. The question was, can they get a list of, or where can you find the list of the I need courses? And Brett answered as saying that the approved list, the list was sent to, hold up, let me go back to the chat.
And Brett,
thanks. I can go ahead and answer if you'd like.
Go for it, Brett.
Now, so the list was finalized late yesterday. As you might imagine, it's somewhat complicated with the community college programs, because we have to list individual courses that are approved, as opposed to the TCATs, which we just have to list the programs. So that list is making its way to TBR now. We want just to make sure that they sort of sign off on it, that there aren't any errors in it from their perspective. And once they are fine with that, it should be available for us to distribute as needed. It'll be distributed to the financial aid offices, and then everyone can have that available to them.
Awesome. I'm actually too, guys, I'm going to send my cell and email.
Let me also add, if I might, this is Robert. Based on Brett's description of where we are in the process with regards to the courses, high need courses, and then in the approval process. Once that's complete, we will also save that inside of the e-grant system, so school counselors can select the help button and have access to this list, the high need courses and the high need programs.
Yeah, Robert, thank you. And Brett, thank you as well. The other thing, I just quickly monitored chat as well. I just sent my email, and that phone number is actually my cell. So everyone that you see it, you can text me on it as well. A few additional things that I will say. I know Ellen's on here, Sydney, you're on here, and several of our friends from the Pathways team. One thing we're working on resource-wise, especially as as it relates to COVID, right? We've got to be prepared for everything. Is we have recorded a 1-minute TSAC student portal account creation overview. We're working on a 1-minute video outlining how to complete the dual enrollment grant application, just to have these resources virtual, so that if you are a teacher, if you are a counselor, at that K-12 level, but even from our post-secondary partners, if you are a local TCAT or community college potentially assisting the high school students with the application, the grant application process, we're going to make these resources available. Folks, obviously some of you are first time you may have ever met any of us. Traditionally, Eric and I work with the school counseling community. So these resources will first and foremost be sent out to the school counseling community. However, I think this is where the Pathways team works closely, in this space, and they will be sharing any and all the resources that we create to you guys, in addition to sharing any of the resources that they create as well. So just FY there too, regarding some resources that we are about ready to send out to help with the work that we're about ready to do.
Jason, may I make a comment regarding the applications?
Absolutely.
A couple of points that came to mind as you were presenting those particular slides. The application deadline dates are critically important for students to meet. TSAC has very limited authority to grant exceptions when a student happens to miss the application deadline date. For example, if there's inclement weather, we have some limited authority that we can grant exception, or that causes electricity to be out in that area. COVID-19. We have some authority that we can utilize, but with regards to the application date, it is written in rule, and that rule is a process that we honor. We have to honor. The other point I want to make regarding applications is that we hear from time to time from students, maybe even parents, especially those who are transitioning from their junior year to senior year. They thought that the application from their junior year will also satisfy the senior year. So students must reapply. Not only new students must apply, but renewal students must also reapply. So I want to stress that point as well. That's it.
Robert, thank you. Brett, Robert, you may have seen this question, but oh yeah, Brett, you did see. Brett, do you want to verbally respond to Trina's question that you just?
I think Robert could respond to that better than me even. Robert, Trina's question was, can a student take a traditional dual enrollment class and a GIVE class at the same time?
Yes, absolutely.
The only
we will actually see that scenario more so in community colleges than in TCAPs. But a student may be enrolled in an English course and a high need course within the same semester and receive traditional funding for course number 1 and high need for course number 2.
But they must be HOPE eligible.
That's correct.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Trina, they must be HOPE eligible, as you saw Brett chat in terms of his response, which means at the time of dual enrollment, student either has that 21 ACT or a cumulative 3.0 high school GPA at the time of dual enrollment. So in other words, once a student is deemed or considered satisfying either one of those requirements, student can receive multiple grants and therefore receive a traditional dual enrollment grant and a GIVE dual enrollment grant concurrently during a semester. Robert, Brett, do y'all want to speak anything about the consortium agreement in that sense, though?
Consortium agreements between two institutions.
Yeah.
Although TSAC does not have an official form specifically related to dual enrollment consortium agreements, we do honor institutions utilizing their own consortium agreements to effectuate the funding process across institutions. However, in the system, meaning the E-grant system, the student must designate a home institution and a host institution. A home institution in this case would certify for funding at both institutions. However, the institution worked that out with the student. Most schools will simply just write a check in the amount of $300. And I'm just using $300 as an example, $300, and give that to the student for use at the host institution. We don't look for a consortium agreement in place. We don't ask for that, but if the institutions prefer to use that, they certainly can. It's not required, but they certainly can. What is required is that in order for the home institution to know that the student continues to meet the 2.75 continuation requirement, they must have the grades from the host institution in order to determine eligibility moving forward. Is there a follow-up to that, Eric? I'm sorry, I don't see the questions, the chat. Okay.
Yeah, Robbie just asked which CTE programs are included in GIVE. So Robbie, that was the list that Brett alluded to earlier. That is going out later this afternoon, and I think will be shared, more widely with our post-secondary and K-12 partners at that point in time. But again, a list of specifically high need programs at the TCAT level, and then the list of high need courses that GIVE DEG can apply to at the community college level. Brett, anything else?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay. In terms of that question, I should say.
I guess you could say, Jason, I mean, all of us can imagine any number of combinations and scenarios here. And, for the student who's trying to maximize their benefit, using GIVE eligible courses for the third and fourth course seems pretty advisable, since they'll get the higher amounts for those two than they normally would.
Yep. That's good. Well, guys, I hope that was a good overview. Here's one. Is there a way for those of us who have attended the session able to get a copy of the CTE list? Brett, I feel like, could they just email me once it's released and I could share it with them?
Yeah, I would think that's fine. And I mean, once we can put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And for everyone, just one more time, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and share just contact information in case you're not seeing the chat or whatever. That's the outreach team and their contact information. And then specifically mine at the bottom, number 4. And guys, again, those are our work cell phone numbers. So you can call and text us with questions. Those are our emails. But if anyone, in terms of the resources, in terms of the list, feel free to reach out to me directly or your local outreach specialist. And again, like I introduced this with my security detail, as we as we launch this new program this fall, that hopefully a lot of our 11th and 12th graders will take advantage of over the course of this academic year and years to come. There are obviously going to be questions and scenarios, like with any of our programs, that you'll need to have answered. So by all means, reach out to any of us that you see on this map. Sorry, I'll blow it up for you. Reach out to any of us on this map, or specifically reach out to me directly, and I'll be happy to email or email with you any resources that we create in conjunction with this. Gentlemen, let me be the first to say it's 11 o'clock. I only went a half an hour. I actually had 45 minutes. Let this be a first that I actually perhaps am ending this short, unless there's subsequent questions that we need to address.
Jason, are you able to share this map as a single document in the file section?
Yeah, I am. Oh, yes, I am. And I can do that. Yeah, I can definitely share this after we're done as a single document. I definitely can do that. Great idea.
And as Tracy pointed out in chat, it's available on our website as well.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Eric, in case someone does want to jump ship, in case there are, do you want to give the keyword out?
Yes, I put it in the chat earlier, but the keyword, I'm going to double check myself, is Wisconsin. Let me double check. Yes, keyword is Wisconsin. And so yeah, if you got any other questions, feel free to chat. For some reason, my chat portion is lagging. So Britt, I think, was answering questions, and I'm like, "Where's the question? I don't see the question." So, me being the room host is not working out for me right now. But if you have any other questions or whatnot, feel free to ask. Also, contact us directly. Also in chat, I put I'm in Region 5, so I am the outreach specialist for the southeast middle portion of the state of Tennessee. I run from Rutherford to Hamilton, points in between.
Jason, let me say thank you for hosting this event. You did a wonderful job, Eric, hosting, and as always, it's always great to have Brett on your team. So thank Brett for being on our team as well.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I stepped all over your hosting job there, Eric.
No, you did awesome. I appreciate it. Like I said, my chat was lagging and you were seeing stuff that I was not seeing. So kudos.
Well, I guess I'll just end and just say again, as Robert said, thank you to everyone who joined, and thank you for the kind comments coming in about informative session. Hopefully it was. That's the idea of this. Obviously, if you have any constructive feedback, reach out to me, let me know. But hopefully y'all did take something away from this. But please follow up with me if you have any questions, scenarios today, next week, next month, into the fall and spring semesters. Let's do that. Brett, Robert, Eric, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for being a part of this with me, for backing me up. I always need backup. And that said, happy Friday, have a great weekend, and hopefully we will all talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you.